Okay, hello, those of you on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and Rumble, and KGRADB Radio. Hello to you guys. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you very much, JD Ras. Thank you. And hello to you guys who are on listening to us on Spreaker on the audio format. And of course, hello to you guys on Twitter. I have you guys on a different system here. Hopefully, you guys can hear me okay with this microphone. We'll see. But just let me know. So, happy Friday to you all. Hopefully, wherever you are in this world, wherever you are, hopefully your Friday has been going beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Today, we're going to have a pretty cool show. Well, hello there from Ireland and from the UK. Wow, I tell you what, that's okay. I will be talking about that ICC 4BB. Let me just say this. I will be talking about the big Vatican unveiling, the new guideline of supernatural. What do we do? Oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end. They know something is going to happen. Folks, I'm going to talk to you about it. And then when I get done, you're going to be going, oh, that's it. I promise you, folks, it's not, honestly, to me, it's not even newsworthy. It's just not. I always tell you the truth. I don't sugarcoat things. I tell you the way I see it, good, bad, or indifferent. So I'll talk to you guys about that in just a second. But everybody's going on social media blowing this story up like it's some great, big, huge conspiracy theory. It is not. It is not. It is not. It is not. And we're going to talk about that. Well, we'll do that on the top of the hour at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I promise you, we'll talk about that on the top of the hour. I promise you. So that's what we're going to do. But first, let me go into the business aspects of things before we get into our presentation. I want you to go to this website, KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. Thank you very much. KGRADB.com. They have some amazing shows over there. As a matter of fact, this show, The Sacred Division, which I've been doing it for over 20 years, airs. They're airing it live right now. So if you want to go there, but subscribe. And make sure you put Bishop as your promo code because you're going to get 30% off your subscription. It's already very inexpensive, but if you save money, save money. So if you love the paranormal like I do, if you love the supernatural, the unexplained, then you have to go. You have to go to the site. There's a lot of you who are already subscribers and you love it. KGRADB.com. Oh, you're very welcome, ICC. So KGRADB.com, put Bishop as your promo code. Also, if you want to go to my website, it's really, really simple. It is Bishop James Long, LONG.com. That's it. Bishop James Long, LONG.com. Also, don't forget the paranormal, demonology, angelology, and some other demonology. Those 4 classes, I'm giving them away. So they're online. They are free. All you have to do is go to bishopjameslong.com, click on the class link. It originally was $49.99, which came back $12.50 a class. Woo! But anyway, we're giving them away to the public because education is absolutely crucial, and this is what we want to do. So go to bishopjameslong.com, click on the class link. Now, if you want to donate to the church, that is wonderful because, as you know, we do not get paid as clergy. We do this 100% free. So we would love any type of assistance you can offer. And by the way, Father Mark, we were able to raise enough funds for those of you who donated. Thank you. We were able to raise enough funds for him to enroll in the Tennessee Valley Christian Counseling Program. So he's going to be getting his Christian Counseling certification. This is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So we really thank you all for helping him get there. Now, if you want to also go to my website, that's simple, bishopjameslong.com. But more importantly, if you want to go to the church's website, it's usocc.org. So that is the name, usocc.org. That'll answer a lot of your questions. I appreciate the email, but I have over right now, let me just check, 15,000 of 553 emails. So really that's not the best way to reach me. The best way to reach me is through Facebook. And just go to my website, bishopjameslong.com, social media, links, and just click on the Facebook. And that's in a week. So I just can't keep up with the emails. I do the best I can. But that's what you can do. And don't forget, we have night prayer tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the way you go to, just simply go to usocc.org, scroll down, and you'll see Night Prayer. Click the link. It takes you right there. We'd love to have you. Everyone is invited. Okay, even Mr. Producer. Mr. Producer is too busy. He is a busy. He's a busy bee behind the scenes, let me tell you. Speaking of hello there, Mike from Ireland. Oh, TikTok. Let me say this. I'm very, very sorry that I have to do this. I don't want to do it, but I have to put subscriber chat only for the first hour. It's only because of the trolls. And unfortunately, we just have to do this. But we'll turn them on at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay? So, because there's already people attacking my faith, and we're not doing that. So we're not playing those games. See, we're adults here. We don't act like kids. So if you want to argue with someone else, this is not the place. We're not interested in that. But tonight's show, I want to thank Mr. Producer for putting this together because we have a very, very cool guest on. And I think you're really going to like this presentation. And we're going to talk about some things here in just a second that's really going to, it's going to make you think. And Darcy Weir is, we have a wonderful guest on. He's a highly respected filmmaker known for his intriguing documentaries, delving into subjects such as UFOs, the secret space program, underground bases in Area 51, by the way, New Mexico testimonials, and even Bigfoot, which, by the way, yep, I'll be the first one to admit, I think Bigfoot exists. I do. I think that UFOs exist. I do. And with a meticulous focus on analysis and historical references, his documentaries offer a comprehensive examination of each mystery from a theoretical standpoint. Now, this wonderful director's last venture, I have seen this, by the way, but he did a documentary called Beyond the Spectrum, and it showcases his dedication to exploring the unknown. And the series can be viewed on the popular streaming platforms like Amazon Prime, Tubi TV. And by the way, his recent installment, you need to go get this, is Beyond the Spectrum. Well, the Mason's UFO Files is fantastic. I mean, that really is great. I saw that, but I also saw recently, I went on Amazon Prime and I purchased Transmedium, Fastmovers, and USOs. Folks, if you have not seen that, you need to get it. I watched it a couple times, actually, because I just wanted to make sure. Because what I love about this documentary is that he actually had the opportunity to investigate, not people who just have an opinion, but actually people who are pretty deep into the government world, into the military analysis, intelligence. So it's phenomenal. Really is. If you like this topic, you got to get it. Transmedium, Fast Movers, and USOs. So I appreciate him coming on and chatting with us. And hello there, Darcy. Thank you for being with us.
Bishop, John Long, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you, sir.
Well, I thank you so much for being here as well. Thank you. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. We have a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know that I actually am a big fan of the paranormal and the supernatural, UFOs, USOs, Bigfoot. A lot of people just simply don't know. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But the documentary, it was fantastic. It was incredibly interesting. It was intelligent. See, that's one thing I loved about the documentary. It was well done. It was easy to follow. There are some documentaries that are so scattered, it's like almost impossible to keep up with because it's like, what? Okay, now what are we talking about? But it was very methodical. No, it really was.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. But, I mean, look, it's a strange time to be alive. You've got the Vatican just revealing today new guidelines on supernatural phenomenon, May 17th, 2024. Their doctrines on supernatural phenomenon did not change since 1978. Mm-hmm. And now today they've revised those doctrines to refer to spiritual or supernatural visitors as apparitions. Right. And they're just being very inclusive to things like UFOs being real. And and they're acknowledging that with this new apparition discussion.
Now, I have some friends there in the because I study from the Roman seminary, so I have some friends that are kind of in the higher up, I guess you could say, within the Roman Church, and I've spoken to them about this. Now, their take on this is that this is the 1978 that you were referring to that the Vatican had was primarily just a guide on the determining whether or not apparitions, Marian apparitions, Jesus apparitions, angel apparitions, or statues crying, and how to determine, how to validate these claims or to debunk them. Really, what they're saying now is this is an inclusion. This is an inclusion with people who are claiming to see these aliens or UFOs, but primarily it focuses on Marian apparitions, statues crying, statues moving, because a lot of people, because of social media and because of, online, so many people are reporting these apparitions, and it's becoming such an issue.
Absolutely.
And so it's becoming, so they have to have something. I mean, so a long time ago, look, the popes previously, prior to Francis, have said that believing in UFOs doesn't invalidate your faith. Not at all. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't know they have an observatory in Rome, a pretty massive observatory.
Yeah, and in fact, they also have a appointed member of the Vatican that is to deal with UFO research. Believe it or not.
True.
So
True,
it's it's all inclusive, and recently two governors, I can't remember their name, the two Mikes. You can look this up on Google. Mike. I can't remember his last name, but they went into a SCIF, a special access secret meeting with somebody that has to do with these UFO whistleblowing recently. I don't know if it was David Grush. I don't know if it was Lou Elizondo. The specifics are not complete, but they came out of that meeting and they said, aliens may be demonic or maybe angelic. So, they're being inclusive with their discussion on this, even from the government side of things, that we can actually relate some of these interactions that are happening that are paranormal to something you already understand and know. And
a lot of people are wondering what's going on. Why do we have all of a sudden now we're having all these conversations about this and publicly? What's about time? I mean, it took how many years did it finally take for the government to admit that there's something out there? So before we get into the conversation, let's discuss jargon terms. So for those of you who don't know, jargon terms are terms that are used in a field in which those who are not trained in that particular field, you might find that confusing, the terms. So are there jargon terms that you feel that we should define before we begin the interview, anything that's dealing with your field of study?
Sure. So this most recent documentary I call Transmedium, Fastmovers, and USOs. And what I wanted to do was literally sort of introduce people to that jargon that has been passed around within supposedly the intelligence community and the military community regarding UFOs, or UAPs as they're now called, unidentified aerial phenomenon. The transmedium part of the title, it refers to essentially a report in 2018 was circulating within the intelligence community. That could be NSA, DIA, CIA. These are the intelligence folks that protect the United States. Well, there was a document that was being circulated that showed photos of a black triangle that an F-18 fighter jet had intercepted over the ocean. And this black triangle was seen emanating out of the ocean and then taking off at an incredibly fast speed, going over the F-18 into the sky and shooting off.
Wow.
And several of the photos that were taken showed it from above, showed it from below. There were 3 circles, white circles on each corner of this black triangle that came from the ocean. And what's been reported about UFOs or UAPs for decades now is that they seem to be able to circumnavigate the globe and go into our oceans unimpeded by traditional physics or friction of the water. And this object was quite literally seen coming out of the ocean, coming out of the water. And that is that transmedium characteristic that we're talking about, which is the ability for an object to go from the atmosphere, which is a gaseous atmosphere, to the ocean, which is a liquid form. And as not a lot of people know, but the ocean, the water in general, is non-compressible. So usually when an object hits the water, there's immediate friction. But what military personnel and, well-educated onlookers look at when they see these UFOs or UAPs, they tend to go into the ocean unimpeded. They just travel through it as if it's the same substance as the oxygen atmosphere we breathe. So that's that transmedium jargon. And then fast movers and USOs. Fast movers is supposed to be a secret Navy program for cataloging unidentified submerged objects that are seen moving around our oceans by different Navy personnel, whether they're on an aircraft carrier or whether they're, in many cases, submarines. These objects are seen shooting around the ocean by the submarines, by sonar personnel.
And these are non-biological objects that they're seeing that's within the ocean, correct? Because obviously, like orcas have a massive burst of speed, when they're attacking even great whites. So, so you're referring to, as far as fast movers, non-biological entities?
Yeah, I think that's what we're trying to denote here, that the Navy has well cataloged what kind of biologics are known to the ocean, like whales or dolphins or fish, squid, whatever. But these objects that are shooting around them, so just to give people some food for thought, a submarine can travel at maximum around 39 knots, which translates to, maybe 50 to 60 miles per hour. And then a really fast, super high technology torpedo that creates its own envelope of air, like creates an air bubble in the ocean, and it shoots through that as it moves. That's called supercavitation. And that type of torpedo can travel at maybe 170 miles tops. Okay. But these objects that sonar operators are detecting, that we would refer to as USOs, unidentified submerged objects, they're traveling in excess of 300 knots, 600 knots per hour. Yeah. It's pretty incredible, So when you hear about the testimony of Navy submariners that have witnessed these, I've spoken to two. Mark D'Antonio, on his maiden submarine journey, he noticed this phenomenon. And this is a astronomer that was doing some private work for the U.S. Navy, was invited on as a guest, and he witnessed a fast mover, and then got to speak to the second in command of the whole Navy about a fast mover program. And instead of that second in command saying to him, "Look, Mark, that's, you shouldn't ask me that," or something like more abrasive, he said, "Mark, I'm not allowed to talk about that." So he partially admitted that the Navy knows of objects.
So let me,
another individual.
Can I ask you real quick, why have we moved from, is it, I guess, the UFOs, they have such a bad rap, I think, from a lot of people, especially in the higher up, even the government agencies, or even agency that's trying to take it seriously, I'd assume. So is there a reason why we removed the UFO as far as that terminology to instead unidentified aerial object?
Yeah, I think it's just a sign of the times, right? Like UFOs that word was coined post 1947, unidentified flying object, right? And the Air Force, which held their own research on this subject for 2 decades with Project Blue Book, used to call them UFOs. But now that the Pentagon has entered the fray, which is the top of the power structure in terms of the whole military,
right.
They've decided to change that jargon, and instead of call them UFOs, called them unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAP. I think there's less stigma now because so many people, whether they're servicemen within our Navy, our Air Force, commercial flight captains, have witnessed this phenomenon. Even astronauts have witnessed this phenomenon. I think it's becoming less and less stigmatized. It's becoming more mainstream. It's just the idea of what these objects are being piloted by, whether that's a non-human intelligence or it's a super secret black project that's being run by our military that not even our Air Force or Navy personnel know about this technology yet. That's kind of the argument that's going back and forth within the UFO community and outside of it, right? Because you got people like mainstream scientists like Avi Loeb engaging with this now, and just all these different areas of the scientific community and mainstream community with religion engaging with the phenomenon like never before.
So let me ask you, why? What led you to specialize? I mean, really, you with your studies and your investigation, and it's in your certainly the documentary. There's so much work that you put in, and blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, you put so much work into this documentary. You can clearly see that. So, what led you to specialize and to really push forward on unidentified aerial objects? Why, of all things that are paranormal, supernatural, why that particular topic?
You know, just call it curiosity, I'd say. My curiosity got the better of me in my filmmaking. And I followed stories, as you can tell, that are very fringe. You know, they're not the typical thing that we talk about in the mainstream. It's not a sports topic. It's not a political topic. It is becoming political, but it's more like this fringe theory that our reality is kind of being catered to us, right? It's being manufactured or a little bit manipulated so we don't see the broader picture. And to acknowledge UFOs and maybe non-human intelligence engaging with our planet secretly, and our militaries really being the tip of the spear that is engaging back with them and keeping that truth of our reality hidden from us, that seems to be like a very groundbreaking idea to me. It sounds like if that discovery is ever completely unveiled to the public, it will change mass psyche, global psyche, and it may even help people understand the universe around us a bit more.
And for those of you just joining us, I'm talking to a really fantastic director and executive producer, Darcy Weir. And he, matter of fact, he did you guys got to watch it. I'm telling you, he's done Beyond the Spectrum, Being Taken in 2018, Beyond the Spectrum 2017, The Underground 2021. He's also just did a really phenomenal documentary that I strongly encourage you to watch. If you have not watched this, I purchased it on Amazon Prime, and it's called Transmedium, Fastmovers USOs. And the reason is I love this so much is because he talked to people who are really credible, very, very, and we're going to talk about this in just a second. And when I say credible, I'm thinking people who have, some knowledge, experience, intelligence, national intelligence, behind them, not just anybody just have an opinion. And that's what makes this documentary so, I think, well presented. I've seen it 3 times, and I'm telling you, every time I watch it again, I'm like, oh, I didn't catch that one. I didn't catch that one. There's just so much information. So if you're interested in this topic, Transmedium, Fastmovers, and USOs. You got to go watch it. So, okay, we talked about USOs and how you define them, etc. Have you experienced, and I think I might have the answers, but have you experienced any or unidentified aerial objects that you would define as perhaps UFO or alien or species? Because a UAO, by the way, folks, can be military. You could see an aircraft that's experimental, and that's an unidentified aerial object. You can't identify that. But there are objects in the sky that make you think, okay, there's something else going on there. So have you yourself experienced that?
Yeah, I've said this in the past, in other interviews. When I first started out kind of investigating all of this stuff, I was really at the behest of experiencers that have seen it themselves, right? This would have been around when I was 20, so about 20 years ago. And when I was around 21 years old, I was on a commercial flight flying from Denver, and I was looking out the window. I was in my window seat, broad daylight. The clouds are below. We're pretty high altitude. And I looked up, and I saw what looked like a sort of metal cube flying above the plane. And I immediately, I want pictures or videos of anything like this, I immediately grabbed this little camera I had at the time. This is before we had crazy good cameras inside of our cell phones.
Yeah.
I had like a mini Sanyo camera that could record in 1080p, and I opened it up and I poked it at the window and tried to get, and literally as I was opening that up, it's almost as if this object realized I was about to try and record it. It drifted right above the fuselage of the plane. And I was like trying to look, kind of sticking my eyes, trying to get like a 90-degree view, which is impossible, frantically trying to look up at the windowsill above the fuselage, and it was gone. But that was one time I saw something. Another time I saw something, I was living in Australia. I was walking to get some pizza with a friend one night, living in a suburb of Melbourne, Australia. And we looked up, we're pitch dark, and we saw this white sphere just go shooting along the horizon, towards the horizon. And it did kind of a zigzag and then shot over the horizon. Wow. And the thing about this sighting is that there was no sort of meteor tail that you would see if it was like a shooting star. It was just a perfect white sphere that shot to the horizon. And I thought that was incredibly impressive. I don't know if that was American tech or some special unacknowledged technology, but those were my two sightings that I ever saw.
And now keep in mind, folks, there are pilots that have been pilots for 30, 40 years, and they have absolutely have reported to the FAA. They made official reports that they saw some UFO or UAO, that they saw this object that was just simply inexplicable. They could not explain how it was able to maneuver. I mean, I think there was a one, I can't remember, 747 pilot, a captain actually reported it. When you report things like this to the FAA, that's pretty serious. That many times, I used to work in the airlines many years ago, and I talked to pilots about this, and many of them have seen these objects that they can't identify, but they don't report them because they're afraid, is there something wrong with this person? They might be kind of flagged. So a lot of times they didn't. It's good now that there are bills that's being proposed to Congress to say, hey, this stigma should be erased. If they're seeing something, they should be able to report it to the FAA without worrying that it's going to affect their livelihood. But let me ask you this, Darcy, your documentary, obviously. Go ahead.
I actually do know a really good FAA sighting that
people
could look up.
Yeah, please.
There was Japan Airlines flight.
That's it.
That was flying, from flying to Anchorage, Alaska.
Yes.
And an FAA event was reported. This was well documented. The object that they saw was so massive, they said it was almost like a sun in the middle of the night sky.
Wow.
And two smaller objects emanated out of it. They shot beams of light into the cockpit. The pilots were freaking out, Japanese pilots. They were doing evasive maneuvers, big circles in the sky to evade the object. And when they got back, they landed. This was all filled out, submitted to the FAA, and a FAA high official named John Callahan, he actually got the report, started doing an investigation, and he submitted his testimony shortly after that. Within the week that this happened, the CIA showed up to his office. They asked all the people that were exposed to this material to come into a meeting, to bring all of their material, and they confiscated all that material.
Wow.
The one thing that John Callahan did that was smart, he kept his copy, and he released that to Dr. Stephen Greer's previous disclosure project, which is circa year 2000 right now. But he testified. John Callahan testified at the press club in Washington, D.C. about that incident. He showed the documents that's all been well covered and released. And the FAA knows about these objects.
See, that is when a captain of a 747 reports something like this, obviously it was so profound that, I mean, they reported to the FAA. That was the case that I was referring. That's pretty phenomenal. These are the reasons why. See, folks, this is one of the reasons why, like Bigfoot, I believe in Bigfoot. There are people. I spoke to a game warden in Alaska. I've talked to you guys about that, or even like this captain on a 747. They have nothing to gain by lying. They're not selling anything. They're not on television. They have nothing to gain. Nothing. As a matter of fact, the only thing they take is a lot of criticism. So for these people who are very credible to come forward and say, yep, I saw a UAO, I saw Bigfoot, or I saw whatever it is, you really have to start wondering, okay, so if they have nothing to gain for this, they clearly saw something. And that brings my next question, which I think is a really important one, is when you're doing a documentary, how do you verify the credibility of UAO reports? And not only that, but how do you verify the credibility of the individuals who you interviewed for the documentary itself?
That's a great question. I like to think that I vet everybody as much as I can, and I try to speak to the most credible people when I'm creating the thesis or presenting the topic that I'm covering in my documentaries. With this recent documentary, Transmedium, I was interviewing a former Navy personnel, actually a rear admiral, two-star admiral within the Navy. His name is Tim Gallaudet. He has his PhD from Scripps University in oceanography. He served for the Navy for 32 years. And for 7 of those years, he was actually the chief oceanographer. So this is the guy that's looking at the ocean effects, the atmosphere, and they're trying to plan their Navy operations and exercises with the safest conditions at ocean or sea. So I think he's a highly credible individual.
Sure.
And he is testifying these days that he was present when a UAP was reported to his Navy personnel, possibly being a safety of flight issue in 2015. And this is 2 years prior to the bombshell article that dropped in 2017 with Luis Elizondo coming out, and the Tic Tac Nimitz incident with Commander David Fravor and Catherine Dietrich. So all of these pilots that are at sea intercepting these objects. And he saw this video in a Navy secured server setting. It's called IPSEC. And so this is something that's highly encrypted. You can't get into this unless you have certain classified credentials. And he was able to see a UAP video called the Go Fast. If people want to look up that, it's like a white sphere that's flying along the ocean that was tracked by F-18 fighter pilots. And essentially, he saw that video 2 years before it went public, when it was leaked by Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon, high-ranking intelligence personnel and insider within the Pentagon. And so he's giving further valid testimony that these objects are real. He saw them before they were public. And in fact, the next day after he saw them, those emails were wiped from his server and no one was allowed to talk about them again. Formally regarding that email, meaning they didn't want that out there as a discussion within the Navy anymore. So that just shows the sensitive and classified nature of these objects around our military and Navy men.
Now, I've spoken to a lot of people, in the field of ufology, and many people refer to them as UAOs, unidentified aerial objects. Some people refer to them, most people are referring to them as unidentified aerial phenomenon. So can you clarify, is it primarily UAO or UAP or both?
Well, phenomenon is agnostic. The UAP is agnostic. It means we haven't figured out what it is. It could be prosaic. It could be a balloon. It could be, some atmospheric phenomenon. That's what you would call a UAP. That's not designated yet as a UAO, an unidentified object, right? If you say it's a UAO, you're now saying it's not atmospheric. It's got to be something physical, but we don't know whether it's ours or theirs, if you know what I mean.
Okay, so let me ask you then, with this documentary that you've done and your investigative journalism, so what are the main challenges, or what were the main challenges and obstacles that you had to face in finding people who would be willing to talk about UAP or UAOs, either one? And how did you manage to get such a high-ranking, military officer? Of course, I think he's retired now, but how did you get him to be willing? I think is he retired?
Yeah, he is retired right now, but he is currently working in the private industry, and I think he's actually trying to get his security credentials reinstated. So he may go back to service with that. I'm not sure.
So how were you able to, what were the challenges that you faced when researching and trying to dig deep and actually get credible sources? And how were you able to get these credible people to say, yep, I'm willing to come and do a documentary with you? I would imagine that was pretty challenging, or was it?
Of course, it always is a challenge because, people look at your previous work whenever they're trying to determine whether they'll work with you on what you're doing right now. And I think my previous work does speak pretty professionally towards myself, and it speaks for itself that I'm trying to represent this subject with the most accuracy and fact-based way I can. But I reached out to him via email, but originally I actually was put in touch. The only reason I got his email, I don't know if you've ever heard of a gentleman named Matt Ford that has a show called The Good Trouble Show on YouTube. He's a fantastic journalist, and he used to be in production for Bill Maher, who's another interesting producer and outspoken individual in the world today. But Matt Ford gave me his email. I wrote a lengthy email with my mission statement of my new documentary, what I was trying to go after in terms of information, and that I really wanted to lean on former Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet to verify facts about our oceans. You know, what do we know about our oceans? And what are the unknowns about our oceans? And why are UAPs or UAOs an interesting factor to look at scientifically within the ocean domain?
So from your investigation then on this documentary, have you noticed like any patterns or trends, whether it be societal or cultural, in UAO, unidentified aerial object sightings that can provide insights like into their nature of origin? So that really is the $1 million question, really, when you get down to the crux of it. Do you think this is military or do you think this is extraterrestrial?
I think there's a possibility for both. I think just like in many other realms of life, the truth is multifaceted, right? So I think if you look at our universe and the stars out there and the size and breadth of it, we can't be alone intelligently. There has to be other advanced species. So I think that when you look at UAOs, you're probably sometimes looking at an object that could be a probe or an investigative vehicle from a non-human intelligence. Sometimes it might be our experimental craft. And if you listen to individuals like David Grush, who came forward in the past year, David Grush was the former head of investigation for the UAP task force, which was specially set up by the Pentagon to look into the UAP and UAO phenomenon, let's say, from an intelligence perspective. And he spoke to over 40 whistleblowers that are either working or have experienced the truth of this phenomenon, the non-human intelligence side of things, and the multi-dimensional side of things, the experimental craft side of things. Apparently, he was read into the fact that we have reverse engineered special access projects to reverse engineer craft that were not from our own making.
Okay, so now I know what you're referring to because I'm a space nerd. So I know exactly what you're referring to. But for those people out there who have no idea when you say reverse engineering of crafts that are not from human nature, I guess, or nature's, explain reverse engineering and why they would do that. And you're talking about an object that they have captured that was considered or is considered an alien species or type of evidence.
Sure. So reverse engineering is something that's been happening in science, in the field of science, for decades and decades and decades. For example, the computers that we use now, if you use a PC, a personal computer that's like a desktop, it's not a Mac, but it's like a Windows PC. The original personal computers were started by a company called IBM, right? And when IBM came out with their first PC, a bunch of smart computer technologists, engineers, took the IBM PC, they broke it apart, they looked at the internals of it, and they remanufactured their own PCs, which are called clones of the original IBM, and they made the computer Silicon Valley rush that we all experienced post-1980 that lasted through till now. Everybody wants to have a computer. But it started with smaller companies reverse engineering the big titan of the industry at that time, which was IBM. When you look at that same concept of capturing some kind of technology, breaking it apart, looking at how it works, and then rebuilding something that looks and feels the same way, that's a reverse engineering program. And so what happened, apparently, post-1947 and even pre-1947, I'm talking about the Roswell crash that happened in 1947, there was supposedly non-human intelligent craft that had crashed on our planet. whether that was from us trying to shoot them down or they malfunctioned in some way. And what did we do as human beings? We quickly scrambled to their location where they crashed. We recovered them and brought them to a secret location. And we began testing and experimenting on them to understand the nature of those craft. That is the reverse engineering program in a nutshell in layman's terms. And what David Grush and many other people have been talking about for decades now in terms of the UFO phenomenon, they've been testifying to the fact that we have captured or crashed craft from the past, and we have been trying to learn about them, and we've possibly even built our own anti-gravitic technology, because supposedly that's how these craft circumnavigate the globe. And that's pretty much what we've been doing secretly in these clandestine military special access programs.
So you're saying now that there have military, ex-military, current military, that they have testified in Congress that they know for a fact, not an opinion, like everyone has an opinion on Area 51, but they know for a fact that the United States military has equipment, has a military equipment or some type of equipment from an alien species that they have reverse engineered. They know how to use this for anti-gravity purposes, etc., for military purposes. So you're saying that they actually testified that we have this, and this is no longer just science fiction.
Yeah, I'm saying that that's supposedly what's been going on recently with these special skips that are being set up with select personnel that have the classifications to the security credentials to have those conversations. And the government world is becoming more aware of this. Whether the public, like you and I, will become fully read into this, that's up for debate. I don't know if we ever will, because there are national security implications involved with that. But supposedly, this has been happening.
It is interesting, Darcy, that Judy Ann is, she's one of the moderators in the chat, and she makes a good point. And she said it is peculiar that Congress is now allowing public testimony to come forth. And that's, a lot of people are wondering, and they're just maybe even declaring that eventually the government is going to say, okay, here's the deal. Alien species exist. We have their craft. We know they're here. There's nothing to be. So it's like almost they're preparing us for this. So there's that mass, hysteria. Do you believe that that's what they're doing? Or do you think they're just, because there's so many people speaking about it, Congress say, okay, fine. We'll give you some airtime to talk about it.
I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Okay.
To be honest, I think that there's things happening behind the scenes that may line us up for that eventual reality in the future. But I think we're in an election year. That's a really touchy subject. It's filled with paranoia and conspiracy.
Yeah.
Due to that fact, many people are dubious within government whether they want to stand on that platform or not, right? So the Democrats, the Republicans, they're learning about this, but I think it's a post-election topic that's going to be presented more to the public next year. I think we might hear about more whistleblowers coming forward and stuff, but whether we're actually going to have more congressional hearings in the public, that might, again, come next year. From what I've heard from, I got off the phone with
I think we just lost you there for a couple seconds.
Well, I've been speaking with some certain insiders, and they come to the idea that it's going to be a gradual disclosure.
Okay.
That we're not alone. It's it's something that's coming. You know, it's not going to be instant. And there's all kinds of reasons for that.
Are we talking
right?
Are we talking 5, 10 years, 15, 20 years, or as far as when they're going to finally say, yep, we know for a fact we're not alone?
It might be a 5 sort of year rollout, and it might be something that we slowly become onboarded with as a mass sort of reality. So
here's an important question as well. We talked about this briefly the other day when I chatted with you, and I appreciate you taking the time and chatting with us today. But being that you are digging really deep into this particular topic, I would imagine that there are some heavy hitters within the government that perhaps they want this to be silenced, and they don't want a spotlight to be placed on this topic for whatever reason at all. Now, have you had any issues since you have made the documentary and you are outspoken about this and you've investigated? Have you had any type of issues that you think were intimidating or for those purposes?
Yeah, 2 things have happened in the past year that have been a little bit unsettling. So I'd like to hope that it's not connected to this subject, because it makes me nervous about representing this subject longer term. But as I told you the other day, the first thing that happened was right when this new film Transmedium launched, that week, my main desktop that I do all of my communications through, I do all of my content creation through, I do my banking, it got hacked. And I walked into my office, the mouse was moving around independently, they were in my email, they were in my online drives. It was pretty scary. So I pulled the Ethernet on that computer, and I've been trying to sort of clean up that system ever since. I can't go online with it because essentially they rooted my computer. The second thing that happened, I moved recently, and since I moved to a different city, I've been setting up where I live in and trying to unpack and all that stuff. And within the first week of moving, I haven't told anybody where I moved to, but I got a knock on the door. And so I went to the front door and I, creeped open the door. My dog was barking and I said, "Hi, can I help you?" And they said to me, we were told to come to this property and to go through your backyard to collect something in the backyard. And I'm like, "Who said that?" And this gentleman was like, "Yeah, I thought it was a bit of an odd direction, but they told me to go through your gate to your backyard and I could pick up some item that was available on Marketplace." And I said, "Okay, who told you that?" And they said, a lady on Facebook Marketplace. And I said, "Well, that is really strange because it's just my wife and I living here and we aren't selling anything." So he said, "Look, I'm sorry. This is a strange situation. I'll try to reach out to them and sort it out. I'm sorry to bother you." And I said, "Okay." That guy took off. I took a picture of his license plate just in case, but really strange. And I almost equate that incident to somebody trying to say to me online, "I know where you live." That's kind of what, okay. There are obviously nefarious reasons as to why someone would do this, but if it's already been, testified in Congress, so it's already out there. The information is out there, and you're just, digging a little bit deeper. Do you think perhaps maybe you're getting too close to the truth, and that makes certain individuals, whomever they may be, uncomfortable? Yeah, I think wherever there's smoke and enough of it, you'll eventually find the fire if you follow that trail. And maybe I've found something that these folks in the intelligence or defense walk of life are not interested in having out there, discussed and publicly known. So I don't know. but I know that certain people in the community constantly get harassed or threatened. And it's not something new to people that study this phenomenon. So I think I'm just another person that is witnessing this. I can't say who the origin of it is.
Sure.
But it seems a little bit disconcerting, I'd say.
Yeah, and just briefly, real quick. Now, we talk about the Roswell incident, and most people know a little bit about that. Do you believe that the Roswell incident, based on your investigation and perhaps speaking to people who are higher up in the military, do you believe that actually was a weather balloon, or do you actually that was a legit case of an alien aircraft?
I think the Roswell, New Mexico crash, there's just too much testimony surrounding the incident, whether that's the police sheriff of Roswell at the time, the nurses at the Air Force Base that looked at apparently cadavers of non-human intelligence that was found around or inside the craft. There's just, near 100 people that have reported that Roswell incident, and the Air Force themselves came forward at first. They said they captured a crashed flying saucer.
Yep.
And then in a quick PR stunt gone bad, they turned that around and said, actually, it was a high altitude air balloon, right? And it just doesn't smell right. It seems to be that they bait and switched because they literally wanted to cover up the truth of what they found.
So I have a question as far as maybe an ethical question. If these species do exist, well, certainly the implication, obviously, is that they are far more advanced technologically than we are, especially if they're able to have transmedium devices to fly in the air and obviously then be submerged into the water without hesitation, without issues. So the advanced technology for many people is quite concerning. Do you think that being that we accept the premise that aliens do exist, whether or not they've always existed here or they're from another planet, however you might want to define that, do you think that we, human beings, we are the more aggressive species based on your investigation? Or do you think that UFOs or UAPs, USOs, whatever it might be, with the abduction cases that we've had, many people have claimed to have been abducted, terrible things have happened. Who do you think, from that perspective, is the more advanced and, should be more concerned regarding what the other entity or species could do?
Sure. Bishop, I think Mr. Long, I think there's all kinds of testimony and evidence that has been out there for the past decades that we're dealing with something that can sometimes show indifference towards us. And if you're talking about abductions or contact incidents where people get sick or people are taken beyond their personal will, that would seem a little bit, disconcerting as well. And you got to look at it even in a scientific perspective. We're indifferent to animals on Earth.
That's right.
We
That's right.
eat them, we catch them, we catalog them, we study them scientifically. We often put them back in the environment we found them in. It's not always malevolent. Sometimes it's benevolent, and it's just a part of the scientific endeavor that you have to do something that's indifferent towards another species, right? So I think it's both. I think sometimes it can be categorized as a benevolent experience. It can be categorized as malevolent, but indifference is something that could be a way of looking at it. Yeah. That if they are so advanced, they don't really regard us as something that's on the same level as them, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you're right. And look at how many animals that we've experimented on. How many animals were tortured just to get the perfume or cologne that we want by scientists, putting perfume in the eyes of animals just to see how it would affect their their pupils. I mean, terrible what human beings have done to animals, all in the name of beauty and cologne and perfume. So I wish we could be here. I could talk to you for hours and hours, but I know that you're a busy person. Let me ask you, where can people reach out to you? What's the best way to contact you?
Sure. My studio for my films is called Occult Journeys. So I just have a website that goes by that. And then on Twitter, it's Occult Journeys, at Occult Journeys. And on TikTok here, at Occult Journeys Films. And then, Instagram, I'm Darcy Weir Films. That's me. So I'm actually going to be speaking and showing my latest film at a conference in California, in Palm Springs, called Contact in the Desert. If people want to come see the film there, with their ticket to the conference, it's available to see for free. Thank you so much for having me. I'll also be showing the film at Pine Bush Festival in New York State. That's happening June 1st.
Okay.
So please come over there, check out the film for free, and enjoy the festival. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate you and your coverage of this topic.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your work. Fantastic. Thank you, Darcy. You have a wonderful, wonderful week.
You too.
All right, bye-bye. All right, everybody. Well, there we go. That was Darcy Weir. I tell you what, guys, you're just going to have to make sure. You're going to have to make sure you get this documentary. Again, his website is occultjourneys.com. occultjourneys.com. And that's where you can, if you just go there, you'll see where the Transmedium, Fastmovers, and USOs. And you'll see, I'm telling you, there's a trailer there. You can watch it, but also don't forget there's other things as well. I mean, he has a really cool website, so you might want to check that out. I encourage you to. Also, don't forget on TikTok, he's there as well. Occult Journey, I think Occult Journey Films, he says. Let me just double check. But yeah, it's fantastic. Make sure you go to and pick that out on Amazon Prime, because it's a really, really cool documentary. See, I love that. Yep, there it is. So on TikTok, for those of you who want to follow him, just go to Occult Journeys Films. Type that in, Occult Journeys Films, all one word, of course, and that's where you can find him. Occult Journey Films. Yep, the Journeys. So there we are. So that's a really cool. I tell you what, it just when you really break it down and you get deep into the conversation of UAPs, UAOs, UFOs, alien species, I just think there's something there. There truly is. There's something going on, and what that is, we simply don't know. Now, Willie Windwalker Gibson, he's been on the show several times, and he's already told you 100%. He's convinced he's seen them. I really like to have another presentation maybe one day about people who actually have been abducted. We've talked about Travis Walton, but I think he's just a bit busy. But I'll tell you, it's interesting that the government continues to air these testimonials. There's something, I believe there's something going on. So let me open it up for everybody on TikTok so they can chat with us. Hopefully be kind. Just be kind. Just be kind, TikTok. Otherwise, we'll just have to put sub chat on permanently. And I really don't like doing that. So, yeah, again, make sure you pick up the film. You're going to love it. I really enjoyed it. And hopefully you did as well. So Darcy Weir, Transmedium. It is interesting. It is interesting. How many of you guys believe in, based on what you've just seen, how many, I'm just curious, what do you think about this? It's called Transmedium, Fastmovers, and USOs. I bought that. I bought my copy at Amazon. So I went to Amazon Prime. Do I need a battery? No, this is actually my 4th battery that I put in there. So I'm about to rip it off the wall. It drives me. So just before, right before I went on air, it was beeping. I was like, "Oh, come on!" So I got a brand new battery, put it in there, thinking everything, and then beep. I was, you got to be kidding me! So I did it. This is that's the fourth battery, and they're brand new. So, but yeah, I will. Maybe right after I get off air tonight, I'm going to have to run over to the store and buy a new battery and put it in there so it will shut up. But anyway, it's driving me crazy too. Okay. Well, there's a lot of debate as far as aliens and what are aliens. I know there's a people who have their opinion on aliens being demons. Well, see, demons is something that I've studied my entire life on, and I'm very loyal to that particular topic. I would not say that I have devoted my entire life to the study of alien life. I have done my own private study, but I just think that aliens and demons are two different species altogether. Aliens have physical bodies. They're corporal beings, whereas demons are spiritual. So I just do not see them as being the same. I just don't. I see they're two completely different natures altogether. So for me, I have a different perspective. I know there are some people that are convinced 100%, but I am not. I'm not convinced that they are demons. Just not. No, the Nephilim. That's from the Book of Enoch, and that's really the Book of Enoch. There's a lot of problems with the Book of Enoch, and I've talked about this, but we'll talk briefly again. Genesis chapter 6, verse 4 tells us that the Nephilim existed before and after the sons of God had relations with women. So therefore, the Nephilim could not have been the offspring of demons and women, because Genesis 6, chapter 4 tells us very clearly that they existed prior. Plus, by the way, in the Septuagint, the Greek translation of Nephilim actually means fierce warriors. It has nothing to do with offspring or demons or aliens. It means fierce warriors. And I've also talked about this before. The sons of God, anyone will tell you, any rabbi will tell you, anyone who studied Old Testament theology, they will tell you the sons of God were known as the children of Seth. And Seth was the third child of Adam and Eve. Jesus said that demons neither marry or procreate in Matthew. So the idea that this all came from the Book of Enoch. It's a Gnostic scripture, basically, and it elevates demons to the status of a god. And so that's a problematic. There's a lot of problems. Even St. Paul had problems with the translation or the misinterpretation of Nephilim, because he said, don't argue over endless genealogy and the foolish myths of the Nephilim in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7. So the Book of Enoch has this huge genealogy of demons all the way to Satan. And so this was something that was around even in Paul's time. And I just don't buy that they were offspring of demons and women. I just don't. I don't accept that. Seth was the third child of Adam and Eve. So the sons of God were known as the offspring of Seth. So the idea that demons procreated with women, it's not something that's new. It's happened. This idea has happened for many years. This thought, and it's just incorrect. It's theologically incorrect. He'll be on the so. Okay, let's talk about that. I haven't seen it. I have not seen the Book of Enoch that's actually being sold on TikTok. I'm not really for sure. So we briefly mentioned today, and hold on. Well, we can talk about that in just a second, but. And please understand that I have 3 different computers running at the same time, and you'll just have to deal with this stupid, terrible, dumb thing behind me. It's just one of those things. I'll have to deal with it until I get a new battery for the 5th battery. Anyway, let's talk about the Vatican and what they did today. So this is by Devon Markham and Steph Whiteside. So the Vatican unveils, this is by News Nation, the Vatican unveils new guidance on supernatural phenomena. So the Vatican presents provisions for the doctrine of faith. An apparition refers to the appearance of a spiritual supernatural visitor. The Vatican has not revised this particular set of doctrines since 1978. So the Vatican offered new guidance Friday regarding paranormal phenomena and other apparitions are supernatural, presenting new provisions to the doctrine of faith. And the Vatican radically reformed this process by evaluating alleged visions of the Virgin Mary, weeping statues, and other seemingly supernatural phenomena. And for those of you who don't know, recently there was in Las Vegas, there was a report of a non-human UFO encounter. And the teen said it was traumatizing. And the Vatican's doctrine office overhauled norms. The first issue was 1978. And so nowadays, word about apparitions or weeping Madonnas travel quickly and can actually harm the faithful if hoaxers are trying to make money off people's beliefs. And Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez and Monsignor Armando Mateo spoke about the news conference today. As described in the Encyclopedia of the Bible, an apparition refers to the appearance of a spiritual or supernatural visitor, most likely with instances involving a divine entity such as Virgin Mary or a saint. So let's talk about briefly. Historically, the church has been very opaque about how apparitions and other supernatural events were handled. So much so that the guidance issued in 1978 was done secretly and not made public for many years after. So typically, investigations of supernatural events have been left to local bishops, and in no small part because the Vatican doesn't always have enough resources to investigate every possible event. Now, based on previous guidance, local authorities were urged to be cautious and diligent, but also resolve cases quickly. So there was a methodical approach is more difficult in the age of social media. So basically, here's what it is in a nutshell, okay? There are a lot of people using social media who are saying that the statues of Mary and the statues of Jesus and other saints, they are crying or they are moving. And what's happening is a lot of people are flocking to these churches, and it's becoming problematic because the Vatican is having an issue with how do we decipher the fraud versus the real deal. And the supernatural visitors, immediately people want to assume aliens. And that's really not what they're referring to. They're referring to supernatural visitors as in a saint or as something of this nature. Demons, I guess, in some cases. But this was just a revised situation because there are so many people reporting Marian apparitions, especially now. There's a lot of people reporting that the statues are crying or their heads are moving or hands are moving. And then people are actually flocking to that particular statue. And we're getting to see idolatry to where they worship these statues. And so the Vatican had to make some type of statement, say, okay, we have to fix this. I personally, in my opinion, I don't think that this new revision is based on UFOs. I don't think that was in the mind of the Vatican to create or to revise this particular guide. I think what they had in mind is, okay, we have a lot of people who are reporting Marian apparitions, weeping statues, reporting saints appearing to them. We got to deal with this because social media is exploding. You push the go button or send button, and now it's everywhere. And that's what I think. I do not believe that this revision was because of aliens. But that's my opinion. That's my opinion because there are a lot. I see this all the time. Well, I agree. We have statues now, and there are people that unfortunately they go to the extreme with these statues, and they do worship them, and it is idolatry, and that's problematic. So the church, and rightfully so, is addressing that issue because you have the weeping statues of Mary, and then people begin to worship that statue. Well, that is idolatry. So they have to address it. They can't just sweep it under the rug because it's all over social media. It's all over the world. And so that's why. So that's just my opinion. That's my opinion. I know that's stupid, people. As soon as we're done here, I'm gonna jump off very quickly and run to the store and buy a new battery and put that sucker in there, and hopefully it stops beeping. Like I said, it's a fourth battery I put in that dumb thing. Well, it depends on when you're talking about mythology. I mean, there's some people can get a little bit to the extreme with mythology, so that's concerning to me. Yeah. So I'm troubled by some people and the mythology. So yeah. But anyway, so hopefully that helps a little bit. I know that's a lot to it, but there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of information that's online, and some of the stuff is just simply not correct. And anyway, yeah, the Anunnaki. Well, sure. I mean, it depends. I mean, if you're talking about, is there any evidence of them? Is there any evidence of the Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians, Babylonians who believed and worshipped a group of deities that they called Anunnaki? Or do you mean, is there any evidence of space aliens or lizard folk? You know, so that's what you really have to define those two things. So we just simply have no evidence right now of the cult practices that venerated the Anunnaki in Sumeria in ancient Middle East. We just simply don't. But we do know that there's mythology as far as gods like Ishtar and El and Enki and so forth that were part of their mythology. And so as religious ideas, the Anunnaki certainly did exist in the heads of the worshipers. I can say that. So there were real temples. They had rituals. They had hymns. But just because there's common belief, that doesn't mean that there's evidence of that belief. So, I mean, there's people that believe that the earth is flat or that Elvis never died. So, you know, I think we have to be careful as far as the evidence for the Anunnaki. There's no real evidence of a real Anunnaki as an alien interlopers in human history. There's just simply not. Yeah, you know, Nikki, I got to tell you something. Nikki is asking on TikTok. You mentioned the Vegas incident. What are your thoughts about that? They saw something. That I'm absolutely convinced of. Now it affected them so much that they actually called the police. I mean, when you call the police and you're doing this, something is going on. So I absolutely believe that they saw something that affected them. And because of that, I think that it needs to be investigated. As a matter of fact, I did last week, I think we talked about there was a professional videographer, and he does investigative journalism. He also works with the police department in crime scenes. And he actually looked at the video and he concluded I think he has 20, 30 years experience. He concluded without question that there is an object that was there, that it was not edited in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So I think they captured something. What that is, we just simply don't know. Yeah, it's kind of there is by the way, keep in mind as far as UFOs, I want to mention this to you guys because I saw this and I said, okay, I got to talk to you guys about this. T.K. Randall had wrote this, and he said there's a new United States bill that's aimed to force full UFO disclosure within 270 days. So Representative Tim Burchett is introducing a new bill designed to force the United States government to release all of its UFO files. Says things get soon very interesting at UFO disclosure advocates. That is, at least if a new congressional bill introduced by Representative Tim Burchett this week actually passes. At only 1.5 pages in length, the bill entitled the UAP Transparency Act isn't exactly very large. If it did happen to pass, however, it would force the President of the United States to not only order all government agencies to release all of their UFO-related documents to the public, but also to file additional reports every quarter to update both the House and Senate on the progress toward the goal. Now, Burchett himself is definitely no stranger to UFO transparency, having long championed the release of government files pertaining to the phenomenon. He said it's simple. They spend all this time telling us that they don't exist, then release the files, dang nabbit, he said. He said to Fox News, he said, I don't want some crazy fancy name for it. I just want them to do exactly what the bill is about. Even to Burchett, however, the move is not necessarily about aliens, but about money. He said, like I said before, it's not about little green men or flying saucers, he told Fox News. It's about tens of millions of dollars that our federal government is spending on something that at least some of the members of the federal government agency says does not exist. Now, do I believe this bill will pass? Absolutely, positively. No way. No way. It ain't going to happen. That bill is not going to pass. You and I both know that. We all know that. You know, we both know that. That bill, look, it's dead in the water. It's not going to get to the president's desk, and I guarantee you he's not going to sign it. Republican or Democrat, they ain't going to sign it. It ain't going to happen. Yeah, and a lot of people are talking about that ridiculous portal. I've talked about that. That by the fact that it was shut down. Did you hear about that? Did you hear that? Isn't that terrible? The New York Dublin portal, it shuts down. They shut it down after inappropriate behavior. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? There was a lot of people doing some things they shouldn't have been doing by flashing body parts and disturbing images. And so it's temporarily closed for the rest of the week due to tech updates, they say. Here's the deal, guys. Look, everybody's saying, oh, they're opening a portal. Oh, my gosh, what are we going to do now? We're not going to do anything. It's a video. It's a camera. It's all it is. Just like right now. So if people came on, like a TikTok does it all the time. It's like, there we go. And if you come on and I'm talking to you, you're talking to me, we're seeing each other through the video camera. There's nothing demonic or scary about it. It's just a camera. It's a giant Zoom call without audio. There's no audio. So you can say, hey, how you doing? Nice to see you. Oh boy, that's big time. Technology is amazing. Come on. Well, the Swiss, you're talking about something different. The Swiss portal, you're talking about something completely. You're talking about CERN, old Mick, and that's a different world altogether. CERN, I'm not a favor of that at all. I think we're getting into some deep, dangerous territory, and we need to leave that alone. We truly do. For those of you who have no idea what CERN is, the European Organization for Nuclear Research. It's one of the largest and most respected centers. It's true, and that's fine. But it is what they're doing, the particles, the God particles, and even trying to create black holes. They better leave that. They need to leave that alone. That's problematic. Very, very problematic. Yes, I know people keep sending me. I hear the beep. I know it's beeping. I know. I'm going to go buy the 115th battery and put that sucker in there. Maybe it's possessed. I don't know. This is something by TK Randall as well. And this is just recent. I can't imagine this. But here's an article. Being abducted by aliens can certainly be terrifying. But for some, it can also be a very intimate experience, he says. Most abduction stories tend to follow a similar narrative, with the abductee being brought aboard an extraterrestrial vessel and subjected to various procedures and tests. But there also exists a much more unusual and controversial type of abduction that barely gets mentioned, of those in which the abductee is forced to have adult relations with some sort of alien entity. In 1957, for example, I'm sorry, I can't bring you guys up. I wish I could, but I can't bring you up because I have the show on 3 different computers, and they won't be able to see or hear you. But in 1957, for example, Antonio Villas-Boas, a farmer from Brazil, reported that he had been hauled aboard an alien vessel and experimented on, something typical to most abduction experiences. And things took a rather strange turn, however, when he was introduced to a strangely attractive female alien with platinum blonde hair, who promptly began to have relations. So some of the things that he talked about is very, very concerning. And there's a lot of people who say that this is true. Now, I cannot. My brain just said goodbye. It said there's a term in the UFO alien community that there's actually a term for this, where aliens have relations with humans. What is that? Does anybody know? No, I can't remember what it is. aliens having. Yeah, it's some. My brain. It's it's aliens, babies, but there is a term, I forgot what they're called, but they have a blonde hair, and also they have blue eyes. Why are you not taking DM on your page? I didn't know I wasn't. I have no idea. I have no idea what are you on TikTok? I don't know. See, I'm not really, when it comes to all that, setting up, I don't know. Nordic, is that what it's called? Nordics? Hybrid. Yeah, we'll just call it hybrid. Yeah, there's a Nordic aliens, I guess. Yeah, there it is. So in ufology, Nordic alien is a name given to alleged humanoid extraterrestrial. So basically, these hybrids, that there's offspring, and that's what they're doing. And they're supposed to be Pleiadians, or they're supposed to be blonde hair, blue eyes, look very, very similar to us, radiating almost to the point of the skin color is almost like a golden kind of skin color. So I don't know. Do I necessarily? Look, who knows? Who knows? I know people who claim that they were abducted and that they had terrible things that happened to them, but I just simply don't know. Nordic. Yeah. So Mr. Brewster said Nordic. Okay, there we go. So we have our answer, Nordics. I would love to, wouldn't it be interesting to interview somebody who claims to see a Nordic? That would be interesting. But there's something happening. Okay. Conspiracy theories, by the way. So let me just say this, and we're going to end with the UFO topic here. But TK Randall also says conspiracy theories claims demons are responsible for UFO sightings. So there seems to have been a rise in people assigning religious significance to the UFO phenomenon in the recent years. While some have come to see these objects as angelic in nature, others, such as conspiracy theorist Bart Seibel, believe the complete opposite. Speaking recently on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, Seibel suggests that demonic entities are piloting UFOs and that they have been deliberately masquerading as extraterrestrial visitors as part of some malevolent, mysterious plan to dominate mankind. Now, see, here's the problem. You don't need that. This is the problem when people, I don't know this person, but they don't need to masquerade as UFOs. There's no need to. If they've already dominated mankind. It's called sin. So the idea that we need now to hop in a UFO and fly around, and that to me seems a little, if the ultimate goal is to cause the destruction of human and dominate mankind, well, they're already doing that. Look at the entertainment industry is now the music industry is so in your face with demonic satanic symbols, and you see it everywhere. I mean, now it used to be subliminal, and to a point, it still is. Definitely, in concerts you can see subliminal messages, but now it's in your face. I mean, there's no hiding among this. So I think the idea that aliens or demons need to masquerade as aliens to confuse or dominate mankind, I don't know. I just don't know if they need to. Why? What would be the point? He said the top two UFO researchers said UFOs are real, number one. And he said, number two, they are not from outer space. And number three, they're demonic. I disagree with that part. That premise, I don't agree. The Bible, he says, talks about fallen angels interbreeding with humans. He's talking about the Nephilim, but that is actually incorrect. And Genesis chapter 6, which I already talked about. So anyway, the Nephilim, again, for the millionth time, the Nephilim were not offsprings of demons and women. I believe Jesus is my personal Lord and Savior. I believe he's the Son of God. I think he's God incarnate. And he made it very clear that they do not marry or procreate. So the idea that angels or demons can procreate goes against exactly what Christ taught. Furthermore, I've already explained Nephilim means fierce warriors. That's what it means in the Septuagint. It has nothing to do with aliens. So the idea that aliens had relations with women or demons with women, no, they simply did not. This is incorrect, theologically incorrect. I've already talked about the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch has a lot of problems. It is Gnostic, and this is one of the reasons why, again, St. Paul spoke out against it. In 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7, he told people stop arguing over endless myths of the Nephilim and endless genealogies. So, again, folks, if you, the biblical history is quite clear. The theology is there. The Book of Enoch is problematic in that it puts the blame of sin on direct shoulders of demons, and it takes the culpability away from humans, away from the entire equation. Well, that's problematic in of itself. We have free will. Now, demons certainly entice us and tempt us to sin, but the blame should not go on to demons. The blame should be us. We're the ones who choose to sin or not. So the idea, and not only that, but the Book of Enoch places demons on a deity status as well. So there's a lot of issues with the Book of Enoch that I disagree with completely. I've talked about that ad nauseum. So it's theologically incorrect. It just simply is not correct. The Nephilim is being sold as the offspring of demons and women to sell DVDs or to stream or whatever they do now. That's what it's all, or sell a book or sell a movie. That's what it is, folks. Sorry. I don't agree at all. When you first saw a demon, were you scared? No. Well, the first time I worked the first possession case I was that was intimidating, because I've talked about that. I talked about that on the case of the Eli Roth Presents Legion of Exorcists show, and that was a very crazy. I agree, Robert. Oh, isn't that Rob? I tell you. Rob said, Bishop, look at the King Charles portrait. Let me tell you something, and I'll get back to I've seen that portrait. That is. I'm sorry. I don't want to offend anybody, but that is the worst portrait I have ever seen in my life. I would have been appalled. It looked pure evil. I mean, it just, and I'm not the only one there's a lot of people who have you seen that, guys? Have you guys seen that? If you haven't seen it, Google King Charles official. This is an official portrait, by the way. This is not just a portrait. This is the official portrait. It is. Google it. Google King Charles official portrait. It is truly troubling. I saw that and I thought, what on earth? It was terrible. And yeah, now I will say the picture of his face was well done. So the artist is clearly gifted. The official portrait, King Charles. There, just that's what I typed in. So official portrait, King of Charles. Look, here's the deal. Whoever the face is right on. I give it to that. I give them that. But a matter of fact, I'll take a picture. But the rest of it looks evil. So let me just. Okay. And then for those of you who don't want to look it up for whatever reason, I'll show it to you. Yeah, it's all red. It's all red. It's like, I don't know why this person thought this would be a good idea to. I don't know. I would love to know. Yeah, I'll answer the question in just a second. Hold on. I promise you. Just hang tight. Because I want to show this to you. I've talked about that before as well. The first exorcism, but I want to share this with everybody. So look, that's well done. See, cancel. See, that's well done. I mean, the face is. I thought they did a great job with the face. See that? See, it's a great job with the face. But then you have the entire body. Look at this. Why would anybody think that's okay? I just don't understand. Look at this. Look at that. That just doesn't even. Just Google it. and you can see it better. Of course, you're not going to see it the greatest, but Google it, and I think concerning. So someone was asking about my first case. The first case was the case that I think, I've studied since I was 9 years old. I remember picking up my first book on demonology, and I have not stopped reading books on demonology and theology, of course. I'm constantly reading. It's something that I'm passionate about. So, I mean, when I was after school, I'd always go to our local little public library, and I just loved it there because I enjoyed going there. Matter of fact, I loved it so much, I even worked at the library at one time. So, but I love reading, and I had read about demonology and possession, what could happen, and even when I was in the seminary studying in the Roman Catholic priesthood, there were some great resources there that I was able to study. But when you're there and you're actually present, you can read as much as you want to, and you can have the knowledge as far as when it comes to intellectual information. But when you're present with someone who is possessed, then all the knowledge, it certainly is good training. But that doesn't prepare you for how the demonic is able to manipulate the atmosphere, the temperature. It doesn't prepare you truly to watch someone's eyes go completely solid black, or able to throw their voice or scream in multiple pitches at the same time, or contort their body to where it's very, very distorted. So the first exorcism that I performed, I was the assistant, and her eyes were solid black. And I looked in her eyes, and I was completely catatonic. I was 100. I was I couldn't move. I couldn't think. I couldn't talk. I was absolutely catatonic, and that was terrible. I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like that feeling at all. I was a very vulnerable feeling, and it was one that I don't ever want to experience again. Thankfully, the primary that was there, and he pulled me to the side and did a blessing. We continued, but I don't ever want to go through that experience, because it was, they're solid, but the eyes were they're not so solid. You could see your reflection. So as I lift the eyelids during the exorcism, and I wasn't expecting to see that. I was expecting to see, pupils. But when I lift the eyelids, and it was just a complete blackness. But as I mentioned, it was like a mirror. I could see, absolutely, I could actually see my reflection. So I was like looking, the way to describe it is like looking in the eyes of an apex predator. And I felt very vulnerable, like I was prey. And that's what it felt like. And so I just, that was a horrible feeling. So I didn't like that feeling at all. It was very uncomfortable. But when when I see something like this, it is true. The eyes do go black, and not in all cases, because by the way, that could also be a neurological condition. So just because someone's eyes go black, that doesn't mean the person is possessed. There's also neurological issues in which that can happen. But of course, there were other manifestations that occurred that clearly demonstrated this person was in fact possessed. And we already knew that there was possession prior to even entering the home. But certainly, without question, when I lift the eyes, and that was a different world. So you can go to a location, even to a location. For those of you, I don't get scared now because I'm kind of, I'm not used to, but I'm more aware of the parlor tricks that a demon will use to try to cause you to become disoriented or distracted. So, and that's why, by the way, there's no such thing as a conversation during an exorcism. I've talked about this before. The exorcists, we don't have conversations with the demons. It just simply doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Oh, of course, I'm an old Catholic Benedictine of Immaculate Mary, so I'm very devoted to the Blessed Mother. So for me, for anybody, the rite is quite clear that the only thing that we ever command of the demon, of course, is its name and the hour of departure. So any other conversation does not happen. We don't want to know anything else, because it will lie. And so this is what, and that actually is what is required in the rite as well. So, well, she suffered from transient possession. So transient possession is when the demonic will enter and leave the body at will. So like Annalise McKell, I did the presentation on her last week. Annalise actually suffered from transient possession. She was not in perfect possession. It was transient. Transient, but they're always in the stage of they're always going to be under the oppression and obsession stage, always. So even if they're not in the stage of possession, the demon will always continue to attack them on a physical and physiological and psychological and intellectual level, always, to continue to break down the intellect and will. That will always happen. So, but Annalise McKell, she suffered. There were times she played the piano. There were times that she would get up and play the piano and she would have no issues. She was obviously being attacked, but not necessarily possessed. No. When you're dealing with people refer to that as full possession as well. But perfect possession, really the person is in a constant stage of possession, and there is no relief for the body. That is quite concerning because, as I mentioned many times before, the body can only sustain so much trauma. And so when a person is under the constant stage of possession, that's it's a pretty, well, they're both pretty serious, but that's really dangerous. Some can levitate. I've not seen levitations that you saw like on the movie The Exorcist. But I did have you're right. The priest had a conversation with the Annalise and they were not supposed to. The rite is quite clear about that. But I had in that case where her eyes went black, and I talked about this when on the show, the Eli Roth show, but her body was laying down and it was like someone had put a rope around her waist and she was facing up and she just lifted straight up like this. And I could hear her vertebrae. I could hear a crack. And originally I thought that she had broke her back because, I mean, it was like, it was loud, but it was just Eddie. There was no, you could tell it was not forced at all. I mean, it was just something just lifted her up just like that, just like a perfect V shape. And so that's really the only form of levitation that I've seen. But I've not seen like The Exorcist that you've seen. So that can happen. There are exorcists who claim that they have seen that. I have not. They can be. Yeah. Claire, as our priest ever targeted for possession? Yes. As a matter of fact, I had Father Gary Thomas. He's a Roman Catholic priest and an exorcist. He's actually in the movie have you seen the movie The Rite? It's based on his life. So I had him on the show and I talked to him about this, and he said pretty much what you saw in the movie. He absolutely validated. So he said, "Yep, this is what happened." Obviously he was on set, so he would tell them exactly what happened. They recreated it. So he verified. I should say he verified all the things. So he said the rite was pretty close to everything that actually occurred to him. Yeah, with Anthony Hopkins. But I mean, I've talked about this. If you really want to see, a movie that will give you an idea of how demons can manipulate, you have to see Nefarious. So you have to see Nefarious. I mean, Nefarious is one of the best movies I think ever that's ever been created. It's a 2023 film. And for those of you who have no idea, basically, on the day of his scheduled execution, a convicted serial killer tells a psychiatrist that he is a demon who can possess his body. And as the evaluation ends, he also tells the doctor that he soon will commit 3 terrible things of his own. So it is really a fantastic movie. The way the actor, Sean Patrick Flannery, did a brilliant job with projecting, I think, the vileness, if you will, but also the distorted intellect that a demon has. The only thing that they didn't do, there was a reason why it was constantly licking. It's almost, they were trying to make a serpentine kind of feel to it, which I thought they did a very good job with that. So your brain it's subliminal. But if you catch on to it, it's like, okay, now I know. And even a contortion of the face at times. I think they could have probably done a little bit better, even with the eyes. There were times that they should have had the eyes just be solid. And I think there were a couple of times. but there were a couple of things that they could have done a little bit more as far as the distortion of the face. When a person is possessed, there is such an unnatural distortion of the face that the body that you cannot possibly do consciously. And it's very difficult to explain, but it's almost serpentine. It looks snake-like. And there are, imagine if you were twitches that were here and here at the same time, and it would be moving, fluctuating here with your as well as your eyebrow moving. So this is what I'm talking about, how it's not humanly possible, because there are so many things that are going on within the body. It's so, in the face and the contortion of the face, it's so unnatural that while the face is contorting, you have the fluctuations of the muscles or in the facial features changing at the same time along with the contortion. It's something that can't be done. So I've already talked to Enoch. I'm not talking about Enoch anymore. So, you know what I'm saying? Well, okay, what are you talking about? Wait, what is this? Hold on. And your head again, cluster headaches. No. Look, my head. Let me listen. Let me make this clear. My migraine, I appreciate it. My migraines are the result playing football. And back in the day when I played football in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they did not have knowledge of concussions. They just simply didn't. And I suffered a lot of concussions. A lot. I was on the line. So I was a lineman. I was a tackle and a guard. So I was there on the line, and we hit hard. I mean, we were not required to, when you're on the line of scrimmage, the coach always said, if he does not hear your helmet hit the other helmet, you're out of the game. So we hit hard. So we were constantly pounding for the entire game. And because of that, I suffered quite a few concussions, pretty much almost a concussion in every game. I really don't remember any time I did not suffer a concussion. So because of that, I already see a neurologist, I see a specialist. Because of that, I suffer from cluster headaches and chronic migraines. And it's no fun. It certainly is no fun. But there's a lot of reasons for migraines. I'm just telling you my experience. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to give medical advice to anybody. But if you suffer from migraines, certainly see your primary care. But I see a neurologist. I see pain management because of it, and it's just one of those things that I suffer from because I did play football. Yeah. Now, I want to remind everybody that tomorrow we're about to wrap up soon, but tomorrow I'm going to be here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is our open mic night. Miss Wilma, she's my 69-year-old friend. She's in heart failure. She has a pacemaker. She has multiple sclerosis, but she comes on from 8 to 8:30, and we just goof off, have a great time. I pick on her. She picks on me. We try to make people laugh because life is too stressful as it is. And so we have a good time. And that's from 8 to 8:30. And then she heads off because she doesn't like the paranormal because it scares her. So she logs off. And then at 8:30, I answer all your paranormal demonology questions. I'm going to have a lot of articles that I have that I didn't get to tonight. Really cool articles that I want to share tomorrow. So that's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll be there tomorrow. So for those of you on X or Twitter, I'm going to say goodnight to you guys and have a beautiful night. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully I'll see you then. All right. Goodbye, Twitter. Okay, I know I can't say Twitter, but it's kind of like it doesn't feel right to say anything else. It just doesn't. It feels like you're, So okay, so I'll close this out. For those over in Spreaker, I'm going to say goodnight to you guys, of course. I'm going to remind everybody that tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do have a wonderful, wonderful night prayer. We would love to have you. It's strictly audio, and it's only on Spreaker. So if you want to join us, you're more than welcome to. That'd be great. And but that's going to be at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard, around 9:45 or so. What you can do, here's the deal. If you missed the presentation about Enoch, what you can do is go on my YouTube page, and you can watch this. And because I gave a detailed explanation of Enoch and the problems with it. So you can just watch it, just facebook.com/Bishop James Long, or just go to bishopjameslong.com. scroll down to where it says social media links or something, and then make sure you click on the right one. So would a demon be able to be on the chat with us? Certainly, they can use technology, no question. Spreaker is just an audio format. It's just an audio format. It's not video at all. Yes or no what? I don't know. There's a lot of people asking questions, so I try to do this best I can. For those of you on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, KGRADB Radio, and Rumble, and remember, and at TikTok, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. Remember, friends, you are priceless, and don't let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and KGRADB Radio, and Rumble, good night. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.